Okay, this will be a session about more or less to get questions answered. People that have maybe small worries or something, they have a chance to get it out of their system now. If anyone has any questions, you're free to fill in the chat or talk. It will be, yeah, just a question answer kind of agenda, and later on maybe we can have, maybe Panda, you can like tell a little bit afterwards, a little bit like that bullet list I told you about. Maybe take a little bit what your plans are later on, a little bit short. Not in the details. It doesn't have to be detailed, but just so we get the hint of what's waiting, because now the right issue is most important. So, are you now in?
Can we take questions?
You have written some questions. Are you now in Sweden, or are you in India, or where are you?
I'm out of Stockholm, so I am essentially in Frankfurt, and this is with regards actually, figuring out the new listing of Nomi. So just at the very offset, well, this PM that has come into Nordic Mind's website on Friday last. I don't think so. I think most of the contents of the PM is already known. So I don't know what made the board to take out that PM. So most of it is already known. The only new thing to me, which sort of was something that the shareholders did not know about, is the listing at proposed listing at I really forget the name of that exchange here. I think it's a Mangold. Yeah, Mangold. Mangold is, I distinctly remember Fredrik Zettergren before the EGM, I think some 3 or 4 days before the EGM, on the day when we got the indication from NASDAQ that we have indeed got delisted. I think Mangold had given a cold call. It was a cold call to Frederick, saying that, we can help you getting listed over here and all of that. I don't think so. That's the right exchange to get listed on, because there are too many reasons. I think it's a waste of time to even discuss getting listed at Mangold and stuff like that. So I plan to talk to Frederick on Monday. Tomorrow I'll write to him.
Have you seen the questions I've written in the chat board?
Yeah, just a second.
I think there is where people can write their questions.
Mm-hmm.
You can read them if you want to yourself first.
Yeah, I've got. Just a second. Do you want me to look at the chat, or do you want me to look at the questions?
The chat is I've written the questions in the chat. Do you see them?
Yeah, but they're in Swedish. You need to kind of.
No. Actually, I've written them in English. I think I can type them in again. Maybe then you see them. Wait a second. I try to put them there again. Do you see them now?
Okay. Listen, you just need to tell me, where do I need to get to see the questions? By the way, if you can just.
You're on the app phone, right? There should be on the right.
Yeah, I'm on my laptop.
You're on your laptop. I think there's actually, if you anyone who sees this, Anyone who can answer this question who sees through web?
Yeah, I can see it. You're referring to your questions put forward in the Discord.
I got it. Okay. Cool. I got it. Okay. So it is what is Mangold Font Commission and what happens to us if you're listed there? I was just answering that.
Yep.
I will give a call to Frederick tomorrow. Okay, and I will request him to take this out because the way I see it, and I had some SMSs even today in the morning. First of all, there have been, just as a background, okay, there is absolutely, because I have got some messages from some of the shareholders saying that there could be an agenda on it. They're trying to expedite the Mangold listing because of FTR and all. Well, let's not get into conspiracy theories over here because there is none, actually. There has been a lot of calls to the board and Torbjörn Big then specifically on the public listing of shares and the new listing of shares. In fact, some of the big shareholders, the Indian shareholders, have gotten in touch with me and extremely upset. Okay, they're worried. They're extremely worried that the shares have got delisted, and this is a very crucial and a critical subject. Okay, because what the Indian shareholders are taking a spin on is pretty interesting. What they're saying is that we didn't sign up, okay, to get invested in Nordic Mines to get delisted. Okay, and the reason why we have got delisted is not because of is really not because of either the rights issue or whether it is Fire Steel Resources. It's got nothing to do with the two offers on the table. It's got everything to do with Section 2.7 and Section 2.8, which has got to do with compliance. Okay, and compliance in a sense would mean the violation of rules towards what a listed company means. Okay, which focuses more on the compliance of board members and the management as well. Right. So I think that is a gray area. So at least the shareholders have given me a call and they've said that that's not what we signed up for. There could be business issues, there could be business problems. We can discuss all of that. But why has the company got delisted? Because the board was non-compliant, the management was non-compliant, and all of that. Okay. So so I'm saying all of this because I think, and that is the reason why when I was talking to Beekton and Frederick as well, there have been a lot of shareholder calls, okay, to Beekton and the board via emails and phone calls as well, exhibiting deep concern on the delisting of the asset. Now, I remember very distinctly that after Nasdaq delisted us, Mangold had given a cold call to Frederick Zettergren. And I guess it is just the pressure, okay, it's just the pressure from the shareholders that is making Frederick Zettergren react to whatever that he has in his hand. Okay, please also be noticed that Frederick Zettergren is not a capital markets guy. He does not know anything about capital markets. Okay, he's not a financial advisor. He's not a financial expert. Okay, he has never listed even one company in his life. Okay, so he's a litigation lawyer. Okay, he does not understand anything about placing shares and listing, the pros and cons of listing and what have you. All right. So it won't be too difficult, okay, for me to explain to him that forget this Mangold Font Commission, it does not fit into the bill, because what I'm telling you is what I'm going to tell him, okay, and what I'm going to tell him is as follows: that we have 3 or 4 scenarios of listing over here, okay. Let's take those scenarios so that we understand this question that the shareholder is asking. Okay. Scenario number one is we don't do rights. Okay, let's do all the scenarios. Scenario number one is we don't do rights. We stick to the 51-49 joint venture as presented by FTR in the board. Okay, then what are the various opportunities for listing in a 51-49 joint venture? Okay, there are possibly 4 of them. Okay, one is merger with FTR shares. Okay. Second one is a shell company taken by FTR in Toronto Stock Exchange, and the entire JV merged into the shell company so that you get an automatic listing. Okay, that's the second one, right? But both of them include the fact that 100% of the shares are either merged with FTR shares or 100% of the JV is, merged into a new shell company, right? The third one is the Mangold Fund Commission thing, where FTR remains listed with 51% in Toronto Stock Exchange, and 49% is listed in any other exchange. Okay, in this case, the one proposal has come on Mangold, right? And the fourth scenario is that you list the joint venture freshly, newly, into either TSX or Nasdaq Dubai or whichever exchanges offers you a global platform. The entire company gets freshly listed. Okay. In my opinion, let's take each of these scenarios. Okay. If it is Mangold Fund Commission, okay, basically what are we saying? We are saying that we want to list 49%. So rather than getting into Mangold or what have you, okay, I think listing of 49% will be, if at all you want to list 49% in a global network, it's going to be difficult. Okay, it's going to be difficult because on the one hand, you will be treated as a shell company, which is just holding shares, okay, and of a company of a joint venture. So more often than not, it will be extremely difficult to get the kind of valuations that you require, okay, at 49%. It's slightly complicated, but please bear the patience, okay, because this is an important question. You see, today, Fire Steel is, if you take the joint venture as it were, okay, 51% belongs to Fire Steel, right? What is Fire Steel's valuation today? Go down to Fire Steel valuation today, it comes to around about $6 to $7 million. Okay, so today, and they've already made all their announcements. There is nothing else to make. Okay, they've made the announcement that we have signed the JV. They've done everything. Okay, probably I think the market would possibly appreciate it by a couple of $1 million more if they indeed put the funds in, right? But at best, I don't see FTR's market cap going aggressively more than what it is today. So if at all I say $8 million is Fire Steel's valuation, what is the valuation of our 49%? Roughly $8 million. Okay. So if I take this 49% and try to list it at $8 million in any exchange, I will not get that $8 million. I will get probably $4 or $5 million of valuation. Okay, because holding companies and shell companies always get discounted at valuations, right? And that is the reason why a shitty exchange, a small exchange like Mangold will run after distressed cases that they know that we can't get listed anywhere, so let's get listed over here. But it is value destruction. The value will completely get destroyed, right? So there is no way that you can get listed in Mangold, even if at all you have to list 59%. I will tell Frederick that there are much better avenues and vehicles and stock markets to get listed in apart from Mangold. Okay, so I think this Mangold thing is a joke. But having said that, there is no agenda in it. Okay, It is just that a non-qualified individual or a non-qualified board who do not understand anything about what listing means have just tried to kind of get the lowest hanging fruit, whatever is available to them, and it is a typical way of answering a question. Are we, that kind of thing. So I would call up Frederick tomorrow and tell him that even in the worst case scenario, 49% has to be listed. Frederick, there are much better opportunities for getting listed in global networks than choosing Mangold. So that is question. That is answer to scenario number one. Scenario number two is, if you take the shell company route, if you tell the board that why don't you try for a merger with FTR as a company, you will get merged, okay, and the disadvantage, you will get a listed status, but there will be actually no appreciable effect and influence on the valuation of the shares. Okay, number one. Number two, you would have to wait for at least about 6 months to at least a year. Okay, for the liquidity to come up into the FTR shares. The other day I was saying that one of the biggest advantages of Nordic Mines, whilst it was listed in Nasdaq OMX, it had tremendous liquidity. Every day, average liquidity was something like 4 million shares every day. Okay, and I don't think so that is the liquidity that you will get after you merge Nomi shares with FTR shares, because FTR shares are shell shares. Okay, they don't have liquidity. It's not a currency today. Nordic Mines, once it was listed in Nasdaq, was a currency. All right. So to build up that currency, you need to kind of market the counter. You need to market the company. Some institutions have to. So do all of that. It takes time, right? So before any of us, actively start buying or selling post merger with FTR shares, it's going to take some time. Okay, it's not an easy affair to create a currency. It's not an easy affair, because the stock markets always view mergers of this sort. When a huge asset is shoved into a shell asset, most of the stock exchange and including TSX consider this as to be a backdoor listing. So what they do more often than not is they put the company on observation for about six months, and within that period you can't trade and all of that. So it is not a very easy scenario. Okay, and the third is basically the same. You take a new shell company, you put Nomi into a new shell company. It is exactly the same. Toronto Stock Exchange 100% will tell you, okay, guys, observation for 6 months. And then you have to create a currency. You have to bring institutions, underwrite the shares, bring liquidity, and all of that. Okay. The only viable option, the only viable option, I think, very fairly and squarely, and this is what, honestly speaking, one day before the EGM, Vinod Sethi and I and Frederick Zettergren were discussing, because they were it's a lot of people will lose money. Okay, well, I have 22%, I will lose money. Okay, apart from I, there are lots of serious shareholders back in India who are pretty much concerned about what happens to the value of the shares. The only way, okay, if we don't do rights, that is what I'm going to tell Frederick tomorrow. The only way, if you don't do rights and if you accept the 51-49 as it were, okay, the best reward, okay, within the 51-49 structure, okay, the only way you can get the value is to list the joint venture freshly. Okay, so the entire company, as it were, okay, gets listed, okay, in a global stock exchange. I can place an offer for one of the stock exchanges in Nasdaq. I will place it tomorrow. If FTR can better it, so be it. Okay, I mean, they can go down to TSX, but the concept is that the JV itself, the whole company gets newly listed. You will get a valuation of $30 million, which is close to about what, 0.35 SEK or 0.32 SEK, and and life goes on from over there. But any other scenario, okay, is basically trying to destroy value of Nomi shareholders. Okay, first of all, Mangold, you're presuming that I want to list only 49%. Why do you want to assume and presume that you only want to list 49%? Okay, the very fact that you assume that you only want to list 49% is where the problem is, whether it is Mangold or any other gold. Okay, you will have a problem listing that 49%. All right, so why do you want to even think that you want to list 49%? Why can't you think about listing 100% of that JV? Okay, the rest of the options, the merger options with shell companies and all of that, it is discounting the value. Okay, it is not getting the right value on the table. All right, because shell company mergers are always inefficient mergers. Every time it is. I mean, it is not any serious company. Okay, will never get listed via shell company route. Only if at all you are very desperate, you will do that, and the stock markets know that. The regulators know that, the market knows that, and so on and so forth. To create a currency in a shell company environment is very tough. So as I see, again, repeat, okay, I think I will ring up, I will talk to Frederick, I will say Mangold is off. The only way I think one can, the board can do justice to the shareholders, okay, in the 5149 format, as it were, is to list the joint venture. Okay, I must tell you where is my difference in opinion with FTR and possibly even with Vinod Sethi, the last chairman, and well, I can't say that I have a difference in opinion with Frederick Zettek because he doesn't understand it. Okay, so that's not his subject, right? But the difference in opinion was that even in EGM, okay, when I was trying to push FTR towards accepting the fact that you should list the JV immediately, every time I used to, get down to that kind of a debate, the answer that I was getting is that, yes, we will think about it. We might do it. We might not do it. We can't give you any commitments. Let us, try to get some gold out. Let's make some profits and so on and so forth so that we can list it in a much better way. I think all this is, seriously, guys, I mean, I won't kind of, cut the long chase short, okay, and I think this is bullshit, okay, because listing has got nothing to do with whether you want to produce or not. All right, I mean, there are zillions of mines existing in the world, okay, which are not producing but are listed, right? So so you can have your price discovery even whilst you're listed. So if at all the argument is that you want to produce gold and then list, you get listed. If you produce gold, the price will only go up. So you can do price discovery as in how you develop the asset. That's exactly what we were doing in Nasdaq OMX with Nomi. We were not producing. We were discovering the price to figuring out how to produce gold. And without producing gold, we were at 0.90 SEC when we had $4 million in the company. So I think that's nonsense. It's really nonsense. That's the right word to use. Okay, I think what is important is to respect that that Nomi shareholders have got delisted, and if it is 5149, then we should go in for an immediate JV listing. And one day before the EGM, in fact, this is what was discussed, that we will try to do that. Okay, and I think it might be slightly premature to push FTR towards being committed to listing the new JVs, because I think as we speak they are still in the process of raising their funds. The funds have not been committed to the bank, right? So I think their finances are doing a due diligence and what have you. So it might be slightly premature. I think let the money come in first, and then we can talk whatever we want to talk. The only issue over there, as I see, is I think that's what I want to discuss with Frederick also tomorrow. Is that after the JV he's 51%. Okay, after the JV he's 51%. So he's the owner of the company for all it takes. So what kind of leverage do we have to push our agenda after he becomes a 51% owner? Okay. So a small amount of confusion points, but it was very clearly understood that we will hammer down the point of the critical point of the JV getting newly listed, okay, as soon as the 5149 JV triggers, okay, and that is yet not onto the table. As I have discussed, I have written it to the board members, also, not the board members, but the Indian shareholders, that you cannot wait for the stars to come out of dusky clouds and then say, I want to get listed. It may be quite possible the stars may not just come out. Okay, so what? So you would just not get listed or what? All right, so I think the time is now. If you have $15 million, you have good enough cash, you've got a FTR as a team in place, and the company is absolutely ready to get listed. Okay, and if they think that they cannot get listed, I will tell Fredrik Zettergren that I can get the company listed. Here is my option. Okay, you want to better this option, please better this option. Okay, so that answers your first question on the Mangold thing, right? If we stick with,
can I say this then? So to just answer it, I heard everything and understood it, but still. So that means they won't be able to list it at least before we do the rights issue for sure. That's the only thing I want to settle with that.
Well, listen, these kind of Mangold exchanges and all, they're pretty quick. Okay, it's like Akshya Torget. Okay, they're pretty quick. But I think an intervention from our side, okay, will help, because I'm assuming that seriously, Fredrik does not know anything about listing. Okay, and he would himself say it. I think he's matured enough to say it himself that he does not understand anything of this. All right. So I will tell him. I will call him up tomorrow, and I will tell him that stop this. Because even if at all you want to list 49%, which is the absolute worst case scenario, there are much better possibilities of doing that in other exchanges, which give you a better liquidity and a better network and all of that. So I will speak to Fredrik tomorrow and settle this out. Okay. As a background, I can tell you that it is not that he has gotten in touch with Mangold. It's Mangold which has gotten in touch with him. Okay, and there is not even one board member in over there who understands anything about listing. Okay, anything about listing. Right. So I think that it is more from the pressure coming from the shareholders that they have reacted, rather than understanding what is the quality of listing that they should achieve. Right. So yes. So I don't think so that Mangold thing to me is a serious affair. I will call him up and settle this out.
Panda, can I fill in there? I had a talk to Fredrik Zetterberg. This is Krista, by the way. My name is, and on Friday the 8th, and then I asked him whether there is a possibility to trade the shares on some other platform, and he said I have an idea, because we have talked to Mangold, and might be an option to trade the shares over there. But I have to investigate this further, and I don't know whether this is a good option or not. So I think he is, as you say, mature enough to understand that this might be a bad idea if you explain it for him. So I understand that this was exactly as you say. It was just a few guys with the chairs that pressured him to have an answer, whether they want to have an exit or not, or whatever. It's not something that it's conspiracy or something like that. It's just an idea. So I fully agree with you.
Yeah, it is not even, there's no agenda over here. There's no agenda from the board. There's no agenda from FTR. Nothing. Okay. There's nothing.
No, I agree with you. Okay, that's it. I shut down again.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take the second question. Okay. Can they list us before and ruin it for us before? Listen, let's not get into this. There is no agenda. There's absolutely no agenda. Okay. Listen, I have been now in touch with the board. I know Fredrik Zettergren extremely well. I know Torbjörn Bigden extremely well. Okay. And they themselves will say that they are not the right guys to list, and all of that. Okay. It's the point I'm trying to make is this: that both of these guys, okay, are working completely pro bono in Nordic Minds today. Okay. Number two, Frederick Zettergren's focus today is not whether we should get listed or not. His focus today is to save the company from bankruptcy. Okay, let's be very clear about it. And today, as one sees, I think the focus area, okay, for not even Frederick Zettergren, the only guy who's functional in that company today is Big Dev. Okay. And I think what he's trying to do is get in touch with all these sundry suppliers, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Lindal, Everlybank, and a number of these small suppliers. And the total debt accumulated, at least by way of invoices, okay, to Nordic Mines today, okay, is 11.2 million Swedish kroners. Okay, don't get scared with the number, because let's break down the number. 11.2 million Swedish kroners has something like 5 million Swedish kroners from legacy Hebe resources. Okay, and that has been thrown into the dustbin, not by the board themselves. Okay, so unanimously, the last board and this board are very clear with the fact that that needs to be thrown into the dustbin, because that's nonsense. Okay, so from the 11.2 you take out 5, so you have about 6 million kroners. All right, 6 million kroners, the bulk of it is PricewaterhouseCoopers, Lindal, Manama Swartling, and Everlybank. Torbjörn Bigden has gone around and spoken to each one of them, and in principle, I won't even say in principle, but the feeling that I got is that people are ready to consider a 75% haircut. Okay, so which essentially, when I asked Torbjörn that, if you do the behind the envelope calculation, what is the figure that comes onto the table after the 75% haircut, including the small guys and people like PricewaterhouseCoopers and what have you. So his figure that came out was around about 1.2 million Swedish kroners, 1.2 million SEK. Okay, now that is, I believe, the most important thing to do today. Okay, today as we speak, rather than build castles in the air, I'm just trying to get into extremely micro activities. Okay, that is the most important thing, and at least that is an area. Okay, that is an area where that is, we shareholders, Lao Tzu's interests as well, and FTR's interests as well converge. Okay, so what I've told Torbjörn is that give me an official figure. Okay, because that 1.2 is still on an in principle stage today. It needs to officially get onto the paper. That's exactly what they're trying to do now. Why is this pretty important? Okay, it's important because even if at all we do rights, okay, guys. So let's assume that we get a $4.5 million underwriting. I get in Evely and we announce rights and what have you. At least personally speaking, I've done at least 6 to 7 rights issue in my career. Okay, I don't think that rights issue is or any issue. Okay, the efficiency of the rights issue should not be misused by putting the money into settling debts, and that too, I would say, crappy debts. Okay, the only genuine debt today, which is in the Nordic Mines architecture, okay, is the debt which is with Nordic Mines Marknad, the composition plant debt. Okay, that's the only genuine debt. Rest of all is pretty much artificial. Okay. So imagine that this debt outstanding is yet not reconciled in the group company, which also is a huge concern for FTR. Okay, because FTR, okay, any financer will not lend money to FTR with the hand of a Chapter 11 or bankruptcy existing at the group company with this idiotic debts. Okay. So it is his interest also to push Torbjörn to get down a haircut. It is our interest also to get to Torbjörn to get the haircut down. Okay. So at least on the haircut, I think there is an absolute consensus and agreement that haircut needs to be achieved. And I believe that Torbjörn is trying to get that down to around about 1 million per 1.2 million from 11.2. So you can understand, okay, there's one point that I want to make which is relevant. you see, this is not the first time that suppliers are trying to take advantage of the situation. Ever since 2013 that I've seen this asset, every time the asset gets into a liquidity crisis, you know, the Deadly banks, the GDAs, everybody go down over there and misuse the Swedish system, okay? Wherein if you put an invoice, that goes into Chronofolk, then you have to, you know, all of that, okay? So I think that this is a situation which is no different, okay? And I think sooner than later, Big Den will come down with the rationalized figure of 1 million per million point 2, which acts in favor of FTR's lending deal as far as it acts in the favor of us shareholders, if at all we have to do rights. So the first thing that needs to be achieved is take that debt out, okay? Because the composition plan debt is a genuine debt, and that has been baked in FTR's calculation. It has been baked in Lao Tzu's calculation in rights as well. So that is not a problem, okay? So so there is absolutely no agenda in this Mangold thing and rights issue and what have you, okay? The point I was trying to elaborate upon is, see, all these guys know, okay? Frederick Zettergren has come in because I had invited him, all right? I had invited him because we were in a pretty messy position, okay, when the last board went and so on and so forth. And I already knew that the company would get delisted because of compliance reasons. And my advisor in this was Hans Andreasson, and he said that, Pranay, don't waste your time. They've already made up their minds, all right? And they haven't made up their minds, you know, in the last 2 weeks. It seems they had made up their minds about 3 or 4 months back, okay? And the impact was essentially came from decisions on cancelling EGM, cancelling rights, observation period, non-compliance of board, and all of that, all right? So today, as we speak, the most important thing to do is to first decide whether we want to do rights or not, okay? It's the most important, and I'll tell you why. Because once you decide that you want to do rights, you will place an official offer to the board. What is the board trying to tell me today? They're trying to tell me that, Pranay, you don't have an offer. You don't have an official offer on the table today. All that you're saying is don't mind it, but it's hot air. Okay. So where is the offer? FTR at least has an offer. It might be a shitty offer, but at least it's an official offer. You don't have an offer. Okay. Everybody knows in over there, okay, that as far as my underwriting amount is concerned, that is there. Okay. What they were trying to ask specifically is that, hey, have the shareholders given you the undertaking, the subscription undertaking? I said, no, the confidence levels is high. I don't have an official paper. Okay. And which again, you know, there were devil's advocates over there saying that, you know, you won't succeed. You know, that is one of the reasons why we went for FTR. You know, we are not very confident of the small share and all of that. Okay.
Yeah,
so I think
can I just do one thing so people understand? You have to say what the undertaking means. What does it mean?
Yeah. The subscription undertaking means that you see, today I'm saying that my suggestion is that I'm proposing that Lao Tzu will bring in say 24 million kroners onto the table. The rights issue size is 64 million kroners in equity. Okay. So my point is that for me to have, for Lao Tzu to have confidence in the fact that it will have, for Lao Tzu to have the confidence that it can market the issue towards the target price of 64 million SEK, it wants to understand, okay, that whether the shareholders, the small shareholders, do want rights, okay? And one of the ways to doing that is to get a cross section of the shareholders into the undertaking, into the guaranteeing part of it, okay? So as I was saying in many webinars repeatedly, it is not what Lao Tzu underwrites, which is of any importance today. Okay, today as we speak, when the company is listed and everything is hunky-dory, it's a different deal. The company is delisted, we're in a messy position. It is important for the shareholders to understand whether their own fellow community guys are participating in rights or not. So for me, it is pretty important to tell 15,000 shareholders that, listen, not only I believe in this asset and thus I have put in my commitments, it is also your community of small shareholders who have come in and they have undertaken say 1.5 or what have you, okay, dollars. Now that part of the process should be completed sooner than later, so that my undertaking and the fellow shareholders, the community undertaking, can collectively go down to every bank, and then every bank can open an escrow account. Okay.
I just want to say the undertaking, what I mean, is not binding, but it's showing a faith that you will.
What an undertaking means is, I know what you're coming. So let me put it in an extremely simple format. So what will happen is Lao Tzu will give you a note. Okay, it's small word description of what this rights issue is all about, the size of the rights issue, the dilution, basically the information on the rights issue, how shares, and of course also the bonus. Okay, over here, at least my suggestion is that we go in for a bonus issue of 1:4, in addition to the rights issue. So the rights plus bonus, how the shares are calculated, etc., etc., etc. I've given an illustration. I'll give an illustration, and then I will just say, if you agree to this, okay, then here is your name, here are the number of shares that you have, okay, and here is your subscription amount that you want to subscribe for, and then you have to sign. Okay, this is a completely non-binding undertaking, so there is no legality over here. This is only to give the board, Lao Tzu, and every bank the ammunition to describe and announce rights in the way they want to. Because once I give this non-binding undertakings to every bank, then every bank, based on this non-binding undertakings, which includes Lao Tzu's undertaking, will create a conditional escrow account. An escrow account is always conditional. We will create a conditional escrow account, okay, which will be made public to everybody who has signed that undertaking. And people who have signed that undertaking have to put in their subscription amount into that escrow account that every bank is giving. All right. So say within a 7-day period, okay, post the 7-day period of announcing the escrow account, and you're given 7-day period to fill the account. And post that, if every feels that yes, between in the range of $4.5 million is there, okay, including Lao Tzu's $3 million, okay, if it's all there, it will tell the board that we have collected the requisite underwriting amount and we are prepared to go and announce this issue openly to the market officially, which would mean that the next step will be to issue the prospectus, the legal proceedings basically, and get the rights subscribed over all the shareholder base. Okay. In the event that every bank sees that underwriting money has not come in, people have subscribed but they have changed their minds, okay, and what have you, okay, and the money has not come in, then as per the condition of the escrow, the rights issue cannot be launched. So it will be a non-starter, and all the money will be returned from the escrow account to where the money has come from, okay, to your respective bank accounts. So this is what the process is. So for me today, rather than getting into too many conspiracy theories of board this, and for me today the most important thing is, are we doing rights or not? And if at all, then let's get on with the undertaking agreements, give it to every bank, let every bank create an escrow, put the money into the escrow, have the rights issue announced, and then the board will get serious. I mean, why? I mean, AGM has passed rights. It is it is not legal for the board not to accept rights. The board has already announced in one of the PMs before the EGM that we are open to do rights. And if at all we are open to do rights, we can invest that money in the JV at the same valuation. That clause has already been covered in the joint venture agreement. Okay. And FTR knows about that. Okay. I can't take a call whether FTR will like it or not like it. Okay. If I were FTR, let's do the deal together, because you bring in your money, I bring in my money, and there will be a collective pool of money, and we can both ride the horse together. But it may be that FTR might think that, hey, listen, we are losing majority and what have you, so we don't want to do that. That's not a call that I can take. They have to. But legally speaking, there is a pretty clear opportunity for us to do rights. And mind you, most important, see, I was trying to negotiate this rights issue clause in the joint venture agreement for 3 months. I and Sethi. We failed. We failed. We couldn't do it. And that's one of the reasons why I said that, listen, I'm not supporting FTR. Not. The gentleman who did it was Hans Andreasson. So we should not look at the board with crooked eyes. No. Hans Andreasson, before parting the board, okay, made FTR, negotiated with FTR and got that agreement in place. Now, if we don't do rights, then how can we blame the board? The board has given us a chance to do the rights. Now, if at all we don't want to do rights and then go on, writing uncivilized emails to the board members, not us, but, the board has complained, lots of threatening emails, illogical emails, etc., etc., etc. That's nonsense. Okay. So I think we need to put our intentions in order. Okay. If we give an official proposal to the board will accept the offer. There is no question about it. But I can't go down to the board and, for the 100th time, say I want to do rights and this is the model. Everybody knows what the model is. Everybody knows why we want to do rights. Okay. The only missing point is the listing part. Okay. And rights issue should be only done if and only if we are getting listed. Okay. So the rights issue prospectus will clearly market a plan as to what period of time we will get listed in a global network and at what valuation. Okay. I have finished round about couple of rounds of talks with bankers who are interested, and these are bankers who are in my relationships. Okay. The bankers who would place our shares in a global platform. Allow me not to make it too open as to what that global platform is, but I can tell you that is one of the NASDAQ platforms. Okay. One of the NASDAQ platforms, the bankers have shown enough confidence, all right, to take the company, place the company at 0.60 SEC on an underwriting formula. That is the institution will, the bankers will themselves underwrite it at 0.60. What is the most important, which I guess people know, but we are getting missed out and we're getting lost in translation, is that any plans for listing, all right, any plans for listing, and if rights is a vehicle to get listed, rights issue is a vehicle to get listed, we need to get a compliant board in place. You see, today Fredrik Zettergren himself will admit that none of the board members are compliant. Okay, if I tell him that I have a compliant board member, why should he not cooperate? Okay, I am focusing, okay, on only two things today. I am focusing on whether my fellow shareholders and the shareholder community, of which I'm one of them, want to do rights or not, and that needs to be a collective decision. It cannot be a decision, which can be influenced by a big shareholder. It needs to be a collective decision. Okay. It needs to be a decision on consensus. All right. If there is a decision on consensus to go rights, then immediately I will put up a world-class board. Okay. The profiles of which will come down to you today. Okay. And you can see the profiles. Okay. The profiles are world-class profiles. I would think objectively, they would be at least a shade better than what FTR is presented as their team. Okay. These are people who are very well reputed in the gold mining and mining industry in general. All right. So that is what my first step is. So if at all we want to do rights, Just a second. If at all we want to do rights, then immediately, okay, we will call for an EGM and basically get a compliant board in place which can drive the rights issue towards listing. Okay, that is important. Okay, yeah, and my effort before a compliant board comes into place, and even before a rights issue can be announced, is to request the board members and that let's all speak with one voice. Okay, it's not that the board is working for us. I mean, it's supposed to be an agency that works in the interest of the shareholder value. Okay, so I am a bit irritated at the fact as to why is the board not speaking the same language as what the shareholders want to speak. Okay, and vice versa. I think from our side, I think we should be sensible enough and not writing uncivilized emails, and this has become a serious affair. I mean, they were very irritated at that and all of that. So I think there needs to be my effort tomorrow with Frederick is that, Frederick, let's speak the same language. Okay, if the shareholders want rights, okay, then they want rights, and you have to give it to them. So you also start speaking the same language. In the marketplace, it should not be such that Lao Tzu speaking one language, the board is speaking the second language, and apparently the shareholders will get confused, and that's exactly what is happening. So for me, it is very important that the board, Lao Tzu, and thus the shareholders all speak one language. Because what are we trying to do in this? Okay, we are trying to increase our value, correct? And that is what matters. Okay, that's what matters. All right. If FTR is giving us that value, fantastic. There's no reason for doing rights. But the reason why we want to do rights is because the value is not coming from FTR. Okay, so that is my immediate thing. That, Frederick, let's not quarrel between each other. Let's not have differences in opinion, which is non-objective. Okay, let's speak in the same language, because if we speak in the same language, everybody understands it. Okay, so I can tell you very clearly that there is no there are no conspiracy theories and anything of that. So that's bullshit. I think let's not waste time over there. Okay, why we do the rights issue at the same time or after FTR? It's a good question. And that too, again, you see, these are the kind of questions which the board will not take a decision. Okay, these are the kind of decisions that we have to take. The board will not take. The board will not decide for us whether we want to do rights issue before FTR puts the money or after FTR puts the money. Okay, that is our call. All right. But to answer this question, it is pretty simple. It is the cost and benefit. All right. So what is the cost of doing the rights before FTR puts the money or after? Let's analyze that. If FTR, if FTR joint venture says that they will financially close their transaction on the 15th of November, okay. So on the 15th of November, assume theoretically that we have our rights money also available. All right. So both FTR and Nomi put their share of the contribution into Nordic Mines Maknad, which is the joint venture vehicle. All right. In that case, we both are coming into the same valuation, okay, which is $30 million. So why $30 million? $15 million for 51%. So roughly it was about $30 million, so 100% of the company. Right. So the $30 million valuation applies to us, the $30 million valuation applies to them. In which case, your shareholding automatically will go from 49% to something like 75%, because you'll be valued at 49% plus $8 million. Right? But in the case wherein, for whatever reason, the financial closing of FTR happens before we bring in our money, and we put in the money after FTR brings in the money. Okay. then what has happened is FTR has already put in $15 million. Okay, so the valuation is not $15 million any 30 million, is $45 million, because you have to take the cash value also into consideration. All right, so post money valuation is $45 million. So in which case, when you put your money, it will come down to about 67% rather than 75%. Okay, so the range is between 67% and 75%. My point is simple. Okay, once we have calculated this, okay, the way I see it is that what is the risk to FTR? Okay, this theoretically looks pretty sweet to us. What is the risk to FTR? FTR knows whether we put the money after the issue or before the issue, they're going to lose majority. Okay, and if they have to match dollar to dollar, they have to increase the cost of $50 million. So I do not know what that position will be. Consider a situation where they have put $15 million. Now we have to put $8 million. Okay, they know that will reduce them to minority. Okay, but they've already put the $15 million. Okay, I think that whatever we need to do, what is constant and what is sure is that we can do a rights issue the way we want to do it. What is also very sure is that whatever proceeds that we raise from the rights issue can be invested into the joint venture at the same valuation as FTR. Okay, what we need to discuss, reach an agreement between the board and FTR is whether we want to do it post the rights issue, post FTR putting the money or before FTR putting the money. Whatever the scenario is, that needs to be communicated and needs to be done transparently so that all the partners are very clear as to what they're getting into. Okay, so that needs to be told. All right, but the way I see answering this specific question, the cost benefit is not much. It is in the range of 67% equity to NOMI shareholders to 75%. Okay, doesn't make a big difference. Okay, in terms of control for all it takes. Seriously, so I don't see there is a huge risk. In fact, there's only a benefit. Okay, so I don't think so there is a huge risk any which ways, whether we put it before FTR or after it. The risk is actually on FTR's side. Okay, and I think before we do rights, it needs to be transparently communicated to the board. Of course, the board will communicate to FTR, and it would be interesting to see what FTR's reaction is to the rights issue. Okay, that is what I'm interested in seeing. Okay, if I'm not really bothered whether we do it post or before, we can do it anytime. But how will FTR react? Is FTR okay? Well, the way I see it is that it's not as if FTR cannot be okay, because we have the legal the agreement says that, so we can do it. The board will agree to it, and all of that is great. All right. I would say prepare for a scenario that FTR says that no, we don't want to do this deal. Okay, you can go ahead and fill up the rights issue and what have you. In which case, 100% belongs to us, and we get listed freshly at a far better valuation. Okay, than what we have today. Okay. If FTR comes in, which I think it should come in, because there is no, then of course the scenario is even better because you've got $23 million. So, but in my view, it will be a tough. In my subjective view, it will be a tough thing for FTR to say that they accept 33% of the company and 67% to us in the worst case scenario if it all put money post FTR. But important, we need to communicate to the board, and the board needs to communicate to FTR as to when are we executing the rights issue, the time period for it, and it is easy to understand whether we would do it before or after. But whatever it is, it needs to be communicated. Okay. How will we do the rights issue, and what is the advantage of us doing that?
You already did that earlier, right?
Listen, I think all of us are shareholders. I think if you ask me why I want to do the rights issue, I've just answered that in 2 lines. Okay, if FTR is giving me the value, okay, I don't. Why should I put any risk? Might be only an idiot to put risk, okay, money and try to better my value. If FTR is giving me a 15% discount on my value, even that is acceptable. Okay, even then I will not put my risk. Okay, I'll say, okay, fine, fair enough. But the way I see it is getting diluted by a good 60%, because the agreement is for 60%, is not 51%. Get diluted by 60%, okay, at a valuation which is, it's in Basil Botha's own words before the EGM. I don't know why he said that to me, but he shouldn't have said it, but he said it out of anger, out of emotions, that Mr. Panda, I was talking about listing and so on and so forth. He says, do you understand that your share value is zero today? I said, why? It is at zero. Because you're delisted. Even he says that it is zero because you're delisted, right? Number one. Okay. Number two, if you do any kind of maths and try to figure out that today the valuation of Nordic mines, 49%, if at all you list, will not be more than $4 to $5 million at the very maximum. You'll not get today, not any valuation, anything more than that. All right. So where just friends, just take yourself 7 months back, 7 to 8 months back, when the company just had $4 million. Okay, $4 million. Okay, and had whatever their sorting plan and what have you was discussed. Go down to the historical prices of Nordic mines. Okay, we were at a median range of 0.72 to 0.80 SEK. Okay, which is close to something like $60 to $65 million. So where is this $5 million and where is $65 million? Okay, so because there is this there is this case of very sweet apples and rotten oranges, okay, is the reason why the rights issue is there on the table. Rights issue is only there to not only protect us from the value that we have lost, but the value that we are losing at the hands of the joint venture. Okay, and that is why the board has been skillful enough to put that rights issue into the agreement. Okay, so that they give a chance to the shareholders to protect that value. Okay, so if the rights issue, if the FTR deal would have been even 15% discounting, I would have agreed to it. But when you're talking about $5 to $6 million and the genuine value being around about $65 million, then then you feel the pinch. You feel the pinch as to this is if you have an opportunity. Okay, and even the rights issue, a good point that should be emphasized over here. The way at least I am formulating the rights issue, which will come to you guys, is that it's a rights issue which is priced at 0.2121 SEK. Okay, and it is clubbed and combined with a bonus issue of 1:4. So if I do a combination of 0.21 and 1:4 bonus issue, okay, the average price that the shareholder who subscribes to the rights pro rata, okay, will come to round about 0.15 SEK. So you're actually in this rights issue, by subscribing to the rights issue, you're accumulating additional shares at 0.15 Swedish kronor. Okay, and the listing, the target listing, which I'm discussing with the banks over here, okay, the first round went off pretty well, and it should not be a big issue, right? Is the target listing price should be around about 0.60 SEK. Okay, so you already have an arbitrage of 4 times more. Okay, so that is the early winner, that is the lowest hanging fruit, okay, that one should grab into. That I've made sure that the people who believe in this asset and this company, at least in this rights issue, are rewarded immediately. There is no stars coming out of the dusky clouds. Okay, there is no a blue sky selling over here. Okay, it is pretty mathematical. Take your shares at 0.15. You want to exit at 0.60. Please, there is an IPO vehicle that is getting ready that will get listed at 0.60. Okay, and that 0.60 SEC model is a bank, an institution underwritten model. Okay, so that's what it is. So today I don't want to even speak about demerger and all of that. Today for me, the most important point is to protect the 15,000 shareholder base. Because if I lose that 15,000 shareholder base, then there is no reason for getting listed. Okay, one. And number two, this is the 15,000 shareholder base, which has literally saved the company. Okay, so this is a base which to me is a very big asset. Okay, in simple words, you grow with the 15,000 shareholder base. Okay, it's a very important point for me. This 15,000 shareholder base is a very sensitive and extremely rich asset base, which whom I want to nurture and I want to grow along with. Okay, so for me it is very important that I understand that this is a very distressed scenario that we shareholders are coming in. So my rationale and my logic is very clear. My rationale and the logic is, Pranay, you need to give them a trade which is an immediate winner. Okay, which has got nothing to do with demergers. It's got nothing to do with increasing, blasting technique. Nothing to do with business. It's a simple trade. Okay, at least on the trade front, secure them. Okay, because and that is what I've done. Okay, my logic was bring it down to 0.15. Okay, give them at 0.15. Okay, and the fundamental intrinsic value of the company is 0.60. I know it. The bankers have figured it out that it is 0.60. If you have 15,000 kilos of gold reserves with about 8 to 9 years of mine life, if you have if you have the smelting plant at a non-operating stage valued at around about $22 to $23 million, okay, if you have $8 million of cash in your company by the rights issue, if you've got 5,000 hectares of land, out of which only 50% is explored and 50% is owned, okay, by the shareholders, well, 0.60 is a very easy listing price to be achieved from the underwriting perspective, right? Right. And that is the beauty of this game. Okay, the beauty of this game is that the trade is so simple that today we are fighting, we are doing this rights issue because of one fundamental reason, that we got delisted because we didn't have a compliant board. Okay, but we didn't get delisted because the fundamental quality of the asset was ever in question. Okay, the fundamental asset value is still there where it is. All that we need to do, dress it up with a compliant board, and then you see the fun. You dress it up with a compliant board and a compliant management, you just see the fun. You'll get your value immediately with $8 million of cash in the balance sheet. Okay, so for me, the most important thing is to get that $8 million of cash in the balance sheet, okay, and to get that compliant board and management. And I now have won the game. Okay, and both of which are, well, the compliant board and management are ready. I think that going by what Håkan has told me, I think there is no reason why we can't get that $8 million. Okay, I should really thank Håkan for what he's doing. Okay, because at least this is the first time, honestly speaking, okay, it's the first time that we are cutting the bull crap off. Okay, it is time for our shareholders to digitally think whether we need to take the plunge on rights or we don't. Okay, there is nothing in between now. Okay, and the indecisive shareholders can come at a later period of time. Okay, when we market the rights issue. But today the time is for the investors to come down, the shareholders to come down, to join hands to complete that undertaking. And when I was talking to him, another point that I took from Håkan was that he's just done it through his extremely rudimentary Facebook site, which is between you and me. Seriously, I felt extremely bad about it, because why should a shareholder be reduced down to putting up a website and to collect money? I mean, he said that if at all I have the platform for marketing this even better through the Nordic Minds website. And isn't this so shameful, okay, that we can't even offer the shareholders of Nordic Minds the Nordic Minds website to market the rights issue? And this is a topic that I'm going to take with Fredrik Zettergren very strongly tomorrow, that we have to speak with one voice. If there are 2 or 3 shareholders who are working so hard through a Facebook medium, damn it, give them the website to operate on. Okay, because at the end of the day, it is all about shareholder value, right? So, I mean, why the hell will you not do it? So, Håkan, it's in my responsibility. I will give a call to Fredrik. I will make sure that you get that platform. It's not a done thing. It's really, I can't fathom why should anybody do that. Okay. So yeah, so that answers this question. How will we do the rights issue, and what is the advantage? I just answered that. Describe a short about the future for shareholders.
Panda, before you do that, I would like to ask you a question. What would happen if FTR will withdraw their obligations from the joint venture?
Yeah. So again, my subjective point of view is that they will back out. That is my subjective point, when I could be wrong, as a disclaimer. Okay, but specifically, what we have on the table is $8 million of cash. Okay, now why is this $8 million so important? Okay, so Christian, for me, the most important thing is that it's $8 million of risk money. It is equity cash. Okay, and that's the reason why I have de-risked that equity cash out of giving you that 0.60 value. Okay, so if you want to exit, you exit. Don't want to exit, stay put. As a disclaimer again, I will not exit. Okay, if the rights issue is filled down, I will not exit this company even by a single percentage of my share till the point in time I reach 1.5 Swedish kronor minimum. Okay, so I'm not going to exit. All right. Okay. So because I know that if I get that $8 million, I can make it 1.5. All right. And so the answer is inbuilt over there. So what is, if you take, Christian, if you take FTR's capital structure, their capital structure today, as one sees in the joint venture agreement, and it's a pity that you guys don't have it, but I think sooner or later, I think the board should put that JV onto the website. But what I've read is what I know, because I've been a part and parcel of the JV agreement. It's $15 million. Okay, equity. It was okay, equity at 51% of the company, which essentially means a dilution. I'm so sorry. I'll just correct myself. It is $20 million. It is $20 million for an equity of 60%. $15 million right away, and $5 million in a couple of years or something of that sort. Okay, so it's staggered. But the agreement is made for 60% of the company for $20 million. So the dilution is 60%. So basically, and that, if I read the agreement well, that $5 million, okay, that I see is coming in from the internal cash flows. Okay, it is not really risk. Okay, so the $5 million is deferred after 2 years. You know, so it is estimated to come out of internal cash flows. So it is no risk. So basically, he will take his part of the JV pie. He will reroute that into. So the real risk is $15 million. Okay, so the way I see it is that you are actually getting diluted by a good 60%. Okay, a good 60% for $15 million, because I don't take that $5 million as risk money. It is coming from internal cash flow, right? So that $15 million, okay, if I ask myself, okay, that can I do a rights issue which can give me $15 million at a far lesser dilution? That's the business case for me, okay? So at $8 million, Christian, I am diluting 29%. Okay, I'm diluting 29%, all right, at $8 million of equity, right? Once I have this $8 million, I have got two options with me, okay? One option is to leverage the asset, okay, all the assets, and pick up $8 million, because at $8 million equity cash coming in, the banks will value the operating the plant as an operating asset, because you have the cash, so they will value the operating asset. The operating asset, the smelting plant is the operating asset. The smelting plant has a value of anywhere between $22 million to say $35 to $40 million, depending upon whether you're producing gold or not. So if you're not producing gold, but you have enough cash in the company, it will be valued at around about $22 to $22 million. Okay, and if at all you're producing gold, it'll go down towards $40 million. So let's consider we are not producing gold, right? So at $22 million, I can easily rope in another $8 million of debt, easily, underwritten debt. You give me $8 million of cash today, equity cash, and I can give you an underwritten debt agreement tomorrow. Okay, so that is one option wherein I get $16 million of capital structure at 29% dilution, because debt is not diluting the shareholders. Okay, the next option that I have is what I have just mentioned, that when I place the shares at 0.60, this will be an institutional underwriting placement. That means that external shareholders, okay, will subscribe to 0.60 through the institution, okay, and that's the bank's responsibility. All right. So when you place the shares at 0.60, okay, I am in the rights issue plan, and in the prospectus it will come out. I am basically suggesting diluting or selling 10% of the company, okay, at the time of placement of shares in the new market at 0.60, which basically brings me another $7.5 million of equity cash, okay, which does not dilute the shareholders, because the shareholders have come at 0.15 SEK, so they're actually getting a premium at 0.60. So there is no dilution at all. So in either of the two cases, whether I take a debt or I place 10% of the company at the IPO level and bring $7.5 million in, all right? In either of the two cases, I'm reaching $15 million at 29% dilution, okay, as opposed to $15 million at 60% dilution. Okay, so so that is what my business case is. So it's all about figuring out how much are you getting diluted, okay, and whether you're reaching the same capital structure as FTRs is. Okay, so in this rights issue model, you are reaching the same capital structure with a far lesser dilution. Okay, but the most important part is that none of what I'm saying is a starter. It becomes a non-starter if you don't get your rights issue successful, and if you don't have a compliant board, because a compliant board and a rights issue enables you to get listed at 0.60. Okay, if it's getting enabled you to get listed at 0.60, both your options open up. Either you can leverage your asset, or you can sell the asset at 0.60. And if you give me the benefit of doubt, the underwriting formula for putting the price at 0.60 on the stock markets is by selling 10%. So I'm actually getting $7.5 million. So why should I take in debt into the company? So and I'm not diluting the shareholder at all. I'm actually, in fact, I've given an option that in the rights issue stage, the shareholder can actually get an exit at 0.60 if at all he or she wants. So the rights issue, the placement is at a super premium. So there is no dilution. So if I've answered your question.
To an extent, yes, but and it sounds fabulous if everything works out. But this idea, Panda, why hasn't it been possible to launch the idea 2 years ago or 1.5 years ago? Because we have been in the same situation.
Yeah. Okay. So I believe what you're trying to ask is why wasn't this idea floated when Lao Tzu was at some point in time 61.5%? Is that what the question is?
That is the question.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Cool. So
I just want to say one thing. We can answer this question, but then I want to keep in the future, so we don't keep in the past, right? So okay.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. So a short and a crisp answer to that. We picked up the asset that is Lao Tzu had 61.5% for 5 million euros on the 13th of November 2015. Okay, and at that point in time, Christian, we had around about 4 million euros or $4 million, something like that. But it was 4 million. Yeah, we had 4 million euros. We had 4 million euros of cash. Okay, with us. 1 million euro was the cash in the company, and 3 million euros had come in from a failed rights issue. The rights issue was $8 million. The rights issue was only filled till $3 million. Because it was only $3 million, the gap was filled by us, and we could write our own check. Okay, so we had $4 million, right? The plan then, Christian, okay, was that we will immediately, okay, get into the demerger exercise of separating the processing plant from the mine. That was indeed the one-line investment thesis, okay, that we had put our monies on. The but part was that we wanted to take it slow with the market. We were new to the market. We were new to the Swedish markets. We needed the market to get credibility, to understand, rather than, just go down bang, bang, bang and say that we want to. So we want to take it slightly slow. So we started teasing the market, okay, with preparing the market, okay, for what is to come, right? And the market really reacted extremely favorable to all our announcements. Okay, the problem started coming in, right, when the idea was completely destroyed by Saradi Rajan of Legacy Hill Resources. Okay, this was the demerger idea was essentially an idea of the investors who had accumulated 61.5%. This is the idea that we had marketed to the investors before taking their money into the game, right? So it was but obvious that, and we had done a diligence on it, right? So it was not that we had not done a diligence on it, right? And the diligence had more or less also come in parts by Legacy. But cutting the long story short, we faced a lot of friction, okay, from particularly two people, okay, particularly three people, okay, at that point in time. It was Krista Söderholm, it was Eva Kaiser, okay, and it was Saradi Raj, okay, and as and how I lost support from all the other board members who are basically like Vinod Sethi and so on and so forth. I lost support, complete support. Okay, and I was left as the only person trying to push that agenda of demerger. Okay, because it just made imminent sense to me from a business case perspective. All right. But I think what they wanted to do is they wanted to go through with the sorting business case. All right. Not that as if the sorting business case would harm the demerger thing. In fact, it only adds value. Okay, so it never came in my way. But what I'm trying to say is that their fundraising plan, okay, was always on sorting and not on anything else. Demerger was basically, I had become an outcast over there. Okay, it was 1 against 7 or 8. All right, so we had 4 million. And the biggest problem on that 4 million, which we did not know, which nobody knew, okay, and we went wrong in our due diligence through Saradi Rajan, okay, is that we never knew that the smelting plant would eat away roughly around about $200,000 every month, okay, in care and maintenance. So we didn't know that. The figure that was given to us, was something like $50,000 to $60,000, okay. So it was 4 times more than what was estimated, and we were actually losing $200,000 a month. So if you could just, simple math says that we would kind of run off with our cash, okay, in round about a year or a year and 1 month. And that's exactly what happened, Christian. Okay, every quarterly report, okay, that was coming out post, say, March 2016, if you see, we were getting depleted with cash. On the one hand, we were getting depleted with cash, and on the other hand, Saradi Rajan and Legacy Hills Resources team was not being able to raise up funds from the market on their business plan. Okay. That was the problem. That was the problem. Had they raised it up, we wouldn't have reached over here, Christian. We wouldn't have had an FTR. And today, Vinod Sethi acknowledges that. The problem is not that. The problem is not FTR. The problem is how we reach the FTR stage. We reached the FTR stage because we could not raise funds from the market on the sorting business plan, supported by Krister and Saradi Rajan, because everybody else was finance guys. Okay, I was a finance guy. Vinod Sethi was a finance guy. The only two so-called mining knowledge-oriented guys, so as to say, were Krister and Saradi. So I believe the wave went towards that, and Saradi could not pick up money from the market. Okay, and the last problem that occurred was that, there was a $5 million commitment that Saradi Rajan said was 99% true. Had we got that $5 million, we would have been sailing through. Okay, but the mistake that he did, in hindsight, which even Sethi agrees to, is that he should have said it very clearly that he will not be in a position to raise funds. I think he wanted to save face. I think he wanted to survive a bit more, and there was humongous amount of pressure put on me on him, saying that if you are not accepting the demerger, then please prove it to me that your sorting is attracting money from the marketplace, which he could not. When he could not bring that 5 million, okay, that is the point in time we were screwed. Okay, it was too late. Okay, and then I started, putting the money. I put $1.45 million of debt, to save the company for bankruptcy. And in between, that is the stage, Christian, where they announced rights, cancelled it, announced rights, cancelled it, announced rights, cancelled it. And if we would have done rights then, Christian, the first time that they announced it, all right, this rights issue would have been successful big time. We would have had an FTR. But now what they've done is they have systematically, in a way, at least not the present board, not the earlier board as well, when Hans was there. The first board with the 8 members. I can say for guarantee, okay, that there was a intentional effort to scuttle rights, to destroy rights.
Okay. I just want to pause there because we've been talking since 3 o'clock, and I want to keep us still in track, and we're getting out of track. It's good to have this question also, but this is about future also, and people.
I have another question
here.
No,
right. We have to take others also. I understand that we take yours after that, because I don't want to see in the history.
The bottom line now, Panda, I understand, is that you feel confident into raising money with another bank, so you can put this forward and start the production. Is that what I understood?
Christian, honestly speaking, that I am pretty. Let me just elucidate us in a very clear way. One, I am extremely confident, okay, of listing the asset, provided we have a successful rights issue.
Good.
One sec. I'm extremely confident, okay, of listing the stock price at 0.60 cent and marketing the rights issue as 0.15 cent. Okay. I'm extremely confident of placing the shares at 0.60 sec, okay, and raising $7.5 million in addition to the $8 million without diluting the shareholders even by with 0% dilution, or leveraging the asset. Okay. Today, seriously speaking, I don't want to, confuse the shareholders too much into how to take the company into production. Okay. Because that is, to me, okay, at this point in time, had you asked me this question 2 to 3 months back, I would have passionately got myself into a discussion with you. But today, friend, 15,000 shareholders do not have a listed asset with them. Today, there's an FTR knocking on the door to screw up my value. Okay. Today, I need to capture that 15,000 shareholders, give them the early win of 0.15 to 0.60, list their asset, get that money into the game. And when the money is into the game and the compliant board is into the game, you automatically will have that story. Okay. You will have that story. So my focus is into extreme practical things today. Okay. I mean, you see all my webinars, I was deeply involved, okay, with demergers, my presentations, how will I take it production, business case of demerger. Today, I'm very demotivated even talking about that, because today I know that the shareholders are almost lost and I have to get those shareholders back into action. Okay. And that is what my real worry is, if you can understand what I'm trying to communicate.
Yep.
So,
we are talking about 15,000.
Hi, Christian, I will mute you now. You know why? Because we need to let others talk also. And you will come back and get your question in also, but we need to let others talk also.
Yeah, so should we describe in a short as about the future for NOMI shareholders after we have completed the right?
Yeah, we can take that afterwards, what he want to do. Just continue with, like Matthias here has one. Do we have support for right issue from the Indian shareholders?
Oh, okay. Yes.
That's a yes.
I mean, it's as simple as that. So, see, I have, my plan is very clear that I will not be much in Stockholm. Okay. I'll be outside of Stockholm. So, from here, from Frankfurt, I actually go down to Dubai and Mumbai, and I will be essentially filling up the rights issue, even from the Indian shareholders. So yes, Matthias, there is a confidence level from the Indian shareholders.
Good, great. Okay,
the point, just to answer Matthias, their concern. See, it's their concern is that, get the company listed in a respectful platform, should we get the value back? That is what their one line concern is. Okay. That we didn't sign up with you, Panda. Listen, at the end of the day, everybody, they are, I'm their face. Okay. We didn't sign up with you, Panda, to have a non-compliant board, okay, and get delisted. So for me to cater to that question, their monies, they will fill up the rights issue. Important point is, I have to get a compliant board, which I have, and promise of getting the company listed at a respectable stock exchange with the right value. So that answers your question, Matthias.
Okay, I think it's okay if people want to, or Ryosol, Christian want to talk later on, but I'm just going to finish this up because we've done it for 1 hour and 40 minutes and you can still continue, but I want to pause the recording. It's like this then, so
I have one more. I just have one more question, which is a very, can be important, and we are talking about 15,000 shareholders. How can we communicate with all these? Because
It's a brilliant. It's I think the most critical. I think Christian, the and that is where I completely agree with Håkan that he can't be rendered to a Facebook site. So what I want to do is, Christian, this is the immediate and a very practical thing that I want to. Tomorrow, I want to talk to Frederick. Okay, I want to tell Frederick that let's start speaking in the same language. Okay, and I know who is the guy in the board who's trying to create friction. This is not Frederick. Okay, so I will speak to Frederick. I will speak to Bjorn. Okay, I will tell him let's start speaking the same language, which means that we are not opposing FTR. Okay, and there is nothing to oppose. I've already given my vote for FTR. All right. So you have done your job with FTR. You have given your commitments to FTR. You have done it. Now let's stick to the agreement, which gives an option for the shareholders to do rights. Okay, and the shareholders do want the rights. So let's not start using the Nordic Mine's website to market the rights issue. I know what he will say. He will tell me that is your underwriting money or your undertaking money ready, which I will say if that is a condition, then let's fulfill that condition by the end of the month. By the end of the month, let's tell Evely to prepare the escrow account, and once you have the proof of funds, let's start using the web this thing. Okay. The next point that I want to tell you, Christian, is that I want to drive this rights issue. I don't want to depend upon anybody else to drive the rights issue, which simplistically means that after putting a compliant board, and it is for everybody to see whether that board is compliant or not. According to me, it's a world-class board. Okay, world-class board. Some of the biggest brains in mining of it. Okay, from a technical perspective. Okay, I've put in some finance guys as well. Okay, but I'm not interested to be in the board. I want to take over as the CEO of the company. Okay, for at least 6 months, till the point in time that I have delivered everything that I've promised to the shareholder, right from driving the rights issue towards putting the company listed at 0.60 cent. Once I've done that, I'm free to go. But at least the temporary interim position of taking over as a CEO, right? Which means that as soon as we have the confidence of the shareholders to do the rights issue, okay, I will use mass media. Okay, I am very clear in fact, that's exactly what I wanted to do to market my demerger plan when the FTR debate was going on. Okay, and it's still going to be the same. I'm going to use the Dagens of the world, the televisions of the world, the business newspapers of the world. Okay, it is going to be an aggressive communication exercise. Once I get the confidence that Håkan, Christian, Matthias are in the game, okay, then sky's the limit. Then I will run a 100-meter race as if I'll become very aggressive. That is. So I will use the right systems to reach the 15,000 shareholders, because I've got the message very clear, right? I know that it will succeed. So it's the question of marketing, right? So website number 1, Evely Bank number 2, and I going in as the CEO and using the mass media is number 3. These are the 3 things that would be done.
Okay, I think this rounds up. Or
and also just to fill up on Håkan's problem, immediately tomorrow, okay, I will have Frederick at least in principle agree that we should immediately start using the website, okay, to market the rights issue, because well, it's meant for that. So as early as tomorrow, I will try to get that.
Thank you. Okay, I think we will round up this webinar now. I think we still got a lot of it. So by that, I will stop the recording now.